Hi, this is Carry Our Tech with Wicked Stocks, bringing you your Wicked Market Leaders. Replaced the MAG 7 a couple weeks ago. We took out some stocks that we've been covering. Well, I'll get to that in a moment. Wicked Market Leaders, and we're going to go through a series about 10 or 12 stocks, I think. Please don't quote me on that number. But this is, by the way, for the week of Monday, June 22nd, 2026. We start with Microsoft. Most of these are in the MAG 7. I'm just going to cut to the chase here real quick and just mention that while I'm starting with Microsoft, I'll tell you that Apple and NVDA we don't cover anymore in this series because it's part of our subscription package at wickedstocks.com. We cover Apple stock analysis every week. We give all the detailed analysis near, mid, and long term. NVIDIA, we cover every single day at wickedstocks.com. So that's also part of the same subscription package where you get you get a video analysis every single day, 5 to 10 minutes long. Finally, Tesla, you can find on the Wicked Stocks YouTube channel anyway for free. We cover it every single day for free. So those three, two of which are part of a subscription package. The other is free. We don't cover here. I'm just mentioning that right now. If you're interested in NVIDIA analysis or Apple analysis, my suggestion is go to wickedstocks.com and take advantage of our 2-week free trial. If you like what you see, you just hang around and your credit card will be charged after 2 weeks. If you don't like what you see, if you want to bail, you can within 2 weeks and you will not be charged whatsoever for that 2-week trial. Anyway, Microsoft. Microsoft, we can backtrack a little bit. This is a significant channel bottom that is this week at 412.31. We closed below it back in, really most decisively in March. We had about a 2 to 3 week sell-off into the mid 350s. We were anticipating the upper 340s. We reversed, closed back above it. It held for the better part of really 2 months. And then it was most recently, 3 weeks ago, we put out a reversal high. Wasn't a full key reversal, but the following week we collapsed back below the channel support. 2 channels actually. The longer term is 412.31 and the near to midterm one is 415.83. This is our ceiling of resistance. 412, 415 roughly, these numbers below which expecting the mid to upper 340s as a near term 3 to 5 week target. But I do think after all of this, we can continue south. Let me jump to that chart right now. Let me get this out of the way. I know you can't see it, but it is something I have to mess with in my video production. 412.31 is our ceiling, expecting the mid to upper 340s as a 3 to 5 week target. But I think what is our ultimate objective is the 319.86 descending channel bottom. And we can bottom out here on a monthly, even quarterly basis, round up again. It is dropping into the 250s later in the year. And so this may be the ultimate outcome. This long-term line study here is a full channel extension. In other words, the doubling of this previous channel. I've used it as a targeting mechanism for years, and they work pretty well. But I do think realistically this is very stair-step. I'm not about to say that I'm expecting the 250s right now. What I am expecting is the 319.86 descending channel bottom. And that goes back to October. Before we know it, it'll be a full year that can contain selling on a quarterly basis. That's a long time in any stock. We can round up nicely from there. So near term, the mid to upper 340s, mid term, the 319.86 formation and dropping as our objective below 412.31. Now, if we do close back above 415.83 this week, back above both of these channel structures, then once again, this 486.78 formation likely within a couple of months. But where we are right now is heavy Microsoft, still bearish, expecting the mid to upper 340s over the next 3 to 5 weeks. And as I say, over the next several months, this descending 319.86, where any short position should be covered. And I think you can aggressively pursue the long side at 319.86 really through the rest of the year. Meta. Similar structure or similar dynamic to what we just saw in Microsoft. We closed below this 1-year channel bottom back in March, sprung back above it a few weeks later, held, and then just about 3 weeks ago, back below it. Holding below 609.64 near term over the next 2 to 3 weeks, 535.84 is likely. Simple descending channel bottom on the weekly chart, but ultimately this long-term, really a 4-year channel bottom at 492.50 is likely over the next couple 2-3 months. Holding below 609.64, I will hold to a 490s objective. On the way down, you've got a decent pivot point at 535.84, can contain weekly, possibly monthly selling pressures, and if settled below, expect within 2 to 3 more weeks this much more significant 492.5, where we could bottom out through the rest of the year and round up from here, actually to new highs within, I don't know, 6 to 9 months of testing 492.5. Upside, closing above 609.64 this week, does neutralize everything I said about those downside objectives and carry with it a 672.85 3 to 5 week objective. So closing above 609.64, if you're a 3 to 5 week swing trader, you want to go long meta, anticipating 672.85, where we do encounter serious resistance. This is a descending channel structure that really spans back almost a full year of activity, can contain quarterly highs when tested, and is the level to settle above for indicating then a sustained rally, not only to 796.25 within probably 2 to 3 months, but I think as we continue over the following 6 to 9 months, 914.27 wouldn't surprise me. So no good reason to be short and meta. You want to be long, longer term with a settlement either A, above 672.85, or long, longer term with a testing of 492.5. It is likelier we'll see 492.5 actually before we see 672.85. I'm going to move on to Alphabet. Alphabet's really more of an update. We had, I'm going to jump to this chart here just to remind you that we settled above this channel top back the week of May 4th, put out some new highs, and then we almost had a key reversal high. This was the week of May 18th. That set up the 349 as a 2 to 3 week target, which did occur. And also, I still think 310.40 is attainable. Now, in all reality, this is a stair-step process. In other words, I don't clearly expect 310.40 unless we close this week below 349. And then I think this is more of a 2 to 3, 3 to 5 week objective. 310.30. Meaningful channel support. This goes back to November, almost a full year before we know it. 310.40 can contain selling through the rest of the year, and we can round up actually to new highs from here within a matter of possibly 2 to 3 months. 310.40 solid zone to support into if you're a longer term position holder or want to acquire one in Alphabet. I think 310.40 is your level if tested. Until then, if you're kind of a near to mid-term swing trader, you can bottom pick 349. 381.77 is the low of the high. If we close above it, it does neutralize any anticipation of 310.40. And I think closing above 381.77, you can anticipate. I'm going to call this a range now. There is the old channel top that we did, yes, close above at 411.41 this week. And then you've got a parallel structure. These actually tend to work out. In fact, they already did work out this week of May 18th. When we closed above this structure, the parallel structure off of this high actually contained the highs. And so I'm going to call this a range of resistance. Closing above 381.77 is a go-long strategy over the next 3 to 5 weeks or sooner into this 411, 421 region, where profits can be taken on a long position because we could actually top out here again on a monthly basis and fall away. Finally, in terms of going long and staying long through the rest of the year, it's either a settlement above 421.27, then expecting 517.68, or once again, as I've already said, you're bottom picking 310.40 if given the opportunity. On to Amazon. Well, I'm going to back up and show you this chart because it was back in early May that we pushed into this channel top, and we've got another one here. So I would call this a midterm channel top at 283.52 and a longer term structure that goes back 3 years at 291.92. This is a zone that can contain quarterly, possibly annual highs. This has already performed. Following the testing of this area, we fell away. I'll talk about 261.38 in a moment. When we fell away from there, take us back to the original chart. We also then close below this 248.84 channel bottom. This, if you may recall, 3 weeks ago is a sell signal down to 216.43. So I'm catching us up now on Amazon. The 3 to 5 week time frame, 1 to 2 month time frame, if you will, remains heavy below 248.84. You're selling upward retracements in the upper 240s, anticipating over the next month or two 216.43, which does over the next 2 months converge anyway with a more significant channel structure at 196.31. So it is this narrowing zone that narrows into the very low 200 region by the end of August that is our target below 248.84 and a zone to aggressively buy through the rest of the year. From here, we can round up. This is a solid zone to buy into Amazon on a longer-term basis. Investment grade support, I will call this low 200 region in the weeks ahead. Now, upside, if we do close above 248.84, I'll take us back to this chart, 261.38 in reach. This is a 5/8 upside Fibonacci. I don't want to ignore it because it lines up pretty well with this high and other elements on the chart. So closing above the 248 area I just showed, 261.38 likely. This could be a 3 to 5 day swing trade, actually. I'll take us back to this chart. A daily settlement above 248.84 does carry with it a low 260s target within about 3 to 5 days. I'm not comfortable playing the long side of the market through July unless we close above 261.38. And then I think, yes, 3 to 5 weeks later, we'll find ourselves in this significant zone of long-term resistance where we could actually top out once again through the rest of the year. If you're looking for, long-term trade opportunity in Amazon, once again, I'll take us back to this chart. It is the low 200 region over the next month or two that can absorb selling through the rest of the year. Once tested, we can round up into the 290s and climbing within a matter of a half a year or so. And the inverse is also true. This area may contain buying pressures on such a longer-term time frame that it allows the low 200s within a matter of 6 months or so. Let's move on to, I've told you, let's see, I'm going to talk about Intel. Intel is obviously a semiconductor a stock, and this is a monthly chart. This actually spans about 40 years of activity, and we have a full wave swing count coming at 139.57, 26 years really in the making. It is this 2000 high of 75.69, subtracting from that the pullback low in 2008 that is at 12.06, and then you add that distance back to that high, and you have what I call the full swing, A minus B plus A, and that takes you to 139.57. This is a significant zone, a significant area where the market can grow overbought. It reaches a state of longer-term equilibrium here. Now, I'm not going to say that the market's not going to push right through it as it has other meaningful resistance areas over the recent months, but, this is an area not to ignore, 139.57. Let me jump to this chart. I actually think 139.57 is likely this week, following the settlement last week above this 118.50 to 120.54 area. So if you're a swing trader in Intel, 1 to 2 week, 3 to 5 day, I think you can aggressively buy 118.50 to 120.54, anticipating 139.57. If 139.57 wasn't there, that long-term 26-year wave count I just showed you, I would be going with a full swing up to 167.17 right now with last week's settlement above this channel top. But I want to hold off and not get too excited here because I think this 139.57 may well have the makings of a good high that could play out through July, and from here we can fall away again. Closing above 139.57, I think you can expect within 2 to 3 weeks 167.17, which is a full wave count here, A minus B plus A. Downside, closing this week below 118.50 does set up 99.97, and that is a newly formed rising channel bottom. If we settle below it within 1 to 2 weeks, 99.97, where we could bottom out through July and round up again, and finally it would be a settlement below 99.97 that would only anticipate, bear with me, wrong chart, only anticipate this 88.52 30-year channel top that goes all the way back into this low area back in 92. And so that is a strong support zone. I don't expect to see this anytime soon, but if we were in the coming weeks to close below a 99.97, I would. And let's move on to the next Broadcom. Let's see here what to say about Broadcom. So, key reversal high, a big sell signal that played out 3 weeks ago. In the following week, we continue to close below the low of the high that would keep this channel structure at 328.10 in reach as an objective. Last week rejected it. Last week's higher settlement on the week, settlement back above the low of the high, was a neutralizer. Is it a reversal of momentum? No. Not long term, but I do think near term. Over the next few weeks, 446.77 is likely. 446.77 is the all-time high settlement price on the weekly chart that was put out a month ago. This is also smack dab right on top of the 5/8 Fibonacci. So from this high to the low 2 weeks ago, you've got a 5/8 pullback at 446.77. This is an area that may well contain weekly highs, and yet if settled above, it is off to the races again. I don't even have an objective outline just yet. I will get busy on that. I can tell you it would be, and I can draw this out right now, it would basically be this channel top again. In fact, if you look inside the yellow box, that is 497.98. And that will be our significant upside continuation point into later year. So right now I'm going to call this stair step. You can bottom pick the 382.07 low settlement price 2 weeks ago to 385.59 low of the high three weeks ago. This is decent support for the week, above which 446.77 is likely over the next few weeks, where we can top out on a weekly basis and perhaps even fall away into later July. Closing above 446.77, this channel structure at 497.98 and climbing into the low 500 region, then the next 2 to 3 week target where we actually could get into real trouble on a quarterly basis. Long-term buy signal through the rest of the year, aggressive gains through the rest of the year with a settlement above this upper area. I will definitely have this tracked out and marked for you in next week's video. Downside, if we do close this week back below 382.07, expect within 3 to 5 weeks 328.10. This is meaningful channel support. Spans about, almost 9 months in the making, can absorb selling really through the rest of the year, and from here we can round up again. Significant sell signal longer term through the rest of the year and into next with a settlement below 328.10, but we are not anywhere close to that right now. AMD is it's got a real steep rising channel bottom that goes back to this low area from March, and this thing just really exploded following the settlement above this like 1 year channel top that is now at 344.66. So we've got a rising channel bottom at 475.34 that was almost tested 2 weeks ago. This is a solid zone to buy into on a 3 to 5 day and 3 to 5 week basis. Once tested, we can round up to channel resistance that we have now at 327.75. And that is kind of the Wild West quality to this stock right now. I don't really have much of anything in between that I want to hang our hats on in terms of support and resistance. Really, I want to leave you with AMD as a solid buy into July at 475.34 and a solid sell through July at 327.75. And certainly if we were to close above 327.75, this formation over the next few weeks, this thing becomes, believe it or not, increasingly vertical. I do think this has the capability of containing monthly highs, and from here, we could find ourselves inside this tight formation for the next couple of months. If we close below 475.34 this week, I see no compelling reason to stay long AMD through July, because I do think over the following 3 to 5 weeks, 344.66 in reach, where we actually could bottom out through the entire third quarter. Palantir, last stock, we topped out. Well, this was a frustrating trade. If you trade on an intra-week basis, buying that opening a few weeks ago above this 156.63 formation was obviously not a good trade. We fell away. We actually bought it as well and stopped out pretty quickly, though, on the way down. And so where we are right now, I'm going to cut to the chase and just mention that as we continue through July, August, and September into later year, we have a significant buy signal in Palantir with any weekly settlement above 156.63. If we close this week, Friday, above 136.10, which was last week's high and the pullback low so far, that is a reversal near term only. 2 to 3 week rally back into the mid 150s, 156.63, significant pivot point through the third quarter into the fourth. Closing above 156.63 is go long, stay long Palantir into August, September, expecting 207.52, and quite possibly by the end of the year, over the following 6 months, we could find ourselves in the 240s. But that scenario is not where we are right now. Where we are is just above meaningful base of support. So if you're a 3 to 5 week swing trader in Palantir, you can buy 124.11, anticipating upward rotation back into the mid 150s as already described. However, closing the week Friday below 124.11, we enter a sell signal that should, within possibly 3 to 5 weeks, yield 97.17. This structure may well contain monthly selling pressures, and we may then find ourselves in this kind of rotational framework where we round back up into the mid 120s and then back down. This descending channel bottom does continue south by November into the low to mid 60s, which is meaningful support on the weekly chart. So I think it's just stair step right now. Closing below 124.11, expect 97.17 and dropping within 3 to 5 weeks, where profits can be taken on a short position and long entry pursued on a monthly basis. I think that pretty much rounds it out. I just hit past 20 minutes. Please click like, share, subscribe. Check out wickedstocks.com. Take advantage of that 2-week free trial. I'll be back with next week's Wicked Market Leaders. And you have a great week.